Developer. So today, I'm going to review the core and really what the core's responsibility is going to be. So the main thing is I need to be able to get these functions. And the question is, where do you get the functions from? Now, I briefly touched upon the EWrapper prototypes, but if I go on into this EWrapper prototype right here, these are all the methods. So all of these methods have to be implemented. So we can start basically with tickPrice and just kind of work our way down. Now this is important because what changes between each API version is inside this EWrapper prototype. So for instance, inside of tickPrice, if there's an update, and let's say that the price changes from double to decimal, well then it's not going to work anymore. It needs to be updated. Same thing holds true with any of these others. Or if there's an addition within one of the methods, so maybe there's a new method, super tickPrice, well that needs to be implemented. So you have to keep track of this. And I suggest building a way in which you can maintain it. Because sometimes when you update, the system will just update, like the gateway or the platform itself. It'll just update automatically, and then you have to go in and fix it. So it's good to know where these actually originate from. So now let's go ahead and actually implement them. Now the implementation is going to be in the CPP file. Remember, these are the prototypes. They're already defined. That's what this include is all about. So now if I go in here to my CPP file, this is where the actual implementation has to happen. Okay, so now that all of those are built, or connected, now we take a look at this. Try to build, look at the errors. There seems to be an error right here, and I missed a curly brace. Try to build again. Now this is to be expected. Going to run into a few challenges, but it's good to see them. So now everything matches. You see? So I have all of my methods. Now the interesting thing about these methods is they're kind of invisible. You have to make a request. So for instance, the tickPrice. I have to make a request for that tickPrice to be called. And then this tickPrice method is the method that gets called once that request is made. And those are all those requests are made through this EWrapper, through this thing here, these prototypes. So these things are basically those callback methods that will get called once those requests are made. And those requests are made utilizing this MP client. So now what I'm going to need is I'm going to need something that I can actually make the request. So I have to say, okay, request the market data. And when I make the request, this tickPrice method will be invoked, and then I'll get the request back from the tickPrice. Same thing with tick size, the tick generic, all of these things. My order status, open orders. And the reason why I went through one at a time was because I wanted to see every single method that was inside of that prototype. This way I can make custom implementation. So the first ones that I'll be looking at is I'll be looking at errors. I think that's important. I'll look at the tickPrice and I'll look at historical data. So historical data may be the first one that gets called. So in here, all right, so I have the QDebug. So now let's go back to that historical data. And I'll just create let's see, where's historical data? Here it is. So when this gets called, I'll go ahead and issue a print. So we'll say qdebug, and let's take a look at the ticker ID, and we'll output the bar. Now the bar is going to be bar dot, let's just say the close. I just want to make sure this is actually working. So I'll use the ticker ID, and then I'll use price. So let's do, the required ID, and then we'll do price. So I'll get the ticker ID, and let's say the closing price. Say closing, close. There we go. And then it'll give me the historical ID, or historical data. Now I need something to actually make a call to receive that historical data. So inside of the jCore, I need to make that call. Let's see. So we'll do the test, and I'll put that call inside the connection. So once this gets started, then I'll make the call for the historical data. Okay, so once it gets started, let's put some temporary code in here. In order to request that historical data, I need to actually get the time. I need to create the time. I then need to be able to create a query of the time, create a contract, and then pass that time. So let's see here. So let's create time, call it raw time. I'll then create a time and call it time info. Then I'll create a character string, a string array for query time. I'll make that 80. I'll then go ahead and get the time info, and I'll set that equal to the local time, and I'm going to pass the raw time. So we pass the reference of raw time there. Then I'm going to create an empty time string. And I'll set that to an empty string. I think I'm next going to need to be able to create a temporary contract. Now, if we take a look at this contract, see, these are the items that I need to add to it. All of these right here. So I need that contract in order to pass the contract to the required historical data call, because it returns that information. So then I'm going to say, all right, set my temp contract symbol, and I'll set that equal to the Q's, QQQ, which is the NASDAQ 100. I then want to set the security type. So security type, I want to set that to stock. I then want to set the actual currency, and I want to set that to USD, so United States dollar, because you can make it anything. You can make Canadian dollar, the euro, etc. Remember, this is for your application, so you customize it for your specific uses. I'll then make the temp contract a smart contract, so the exchange in which I receive the data from. So I'll get it from smart. And again, this can all be customized as well. I then want to make the call. So remember that MP client? So MP client, and then I want to request historical data. See right here, request historical data. Now I need to pass it a unique ID right here. So I'll make up 1025. The next thing I need to pass is going to be the contract. Then I'll pass it that empty line, the string empty line. I then need to say, all right, well, how many days do I want this to be? So let's say today. I'll then need a time frame. So that's going to be, let's say, 2 mins. I'll then pass it trades. And then there's just a series. Do I want to use regular trading hours, non-regular trading hours, etc.? So I do. So I'll pass it to true. I want to format the data. Whoops. I want to format the data. Then do I want to keep everything up to date? No, not necessarily. And then this one's interesting. This one is going to be a tag list. Now, this is just going to be a function. It's going to be a tag value list pointer. So tag value list pointer right there. I'm going to pass that method, and here we go. Forgot the equal sign. Give it a quick build, and it built. So now I need a way to actually connect. So let's go back to my main window. Inside my main window, going to have to instantiate the core. So I'm not going to put it in here. All right, so inside of here, let's do a temporary. I'll create that core, and I will create a variable, jCore IB. And so inside of here, IB dot, and this is where I need to pass it all the information. So I'm going to pass it the IP, IP address. Then I will go ahead and pass it the port number, followed by the client ID, which is just, I'll set it to 0. Now, if I go ahead and run this, go ahead and get a bunch of errors. That's not good. Okay, so now I'm going to try to initialize some of these. So the MOS signal, I'm going to set that to 2000. And I'll make a comment for a 2-second timeout. I then need to initialize the MP client, and I'll initialize that with a new E client socket of this, and I want to pass a reference to the OS signal. I then want to set the M state, and I want to set that to connect. I want to set my sleep deadline to 0. I'll set the order ID also to 0. Later use. I want to set the MP reader, set that to 0, and the M_extra authority, or authentication, sorry. And I'll set that to false. Now I need to begin to attack some of these errors. What is going on? How do I fix these? These are pretty crazy. But these are some of the things that you're actually going to run into. Like, none of this stuff actually works perfectly on the first try. And I wanted to review some of this and share some of these struggles because you're absolutely going to go through them. Once it's all set up, but going through these trials and tribulations, it's a bit of a challenge. So we look at some of these crazy error codes and like, oh my gosh, what is this craziness? So let me see if I can try to figure it out. So I need to fix this. I forgot to put in the scope for all of these. So I'm getting some crazy errors, and that's why. But these are little things that kind of just pop up. There's so much information and so many things to do. Kind of lose track every now and then. So you have to take a break, take a step back, think about it for a minute. There would be lots of mistakes made, and that's okay. You try not to get frustrated. You just try to think it through. Sometimes it helps. You just get up and go outside, go for a little walk, maybe go get a cup of tea, get some water. Because there's a lot of methods in here, and they continually add more and more to Interactive Brokers. But it is pretty handy to have. Gives the ability to customize many things. But once you get this template set up, then you'll be able to use it many times. It's just setting it up the first time that becomes a bit of a struggle. Well, the first time and every time there is an update. So that's why it's important to really understand all the methods that are in here. Try to build it from scratch. It's a bit time consuming at first, but once you get it, it becomes second nature. You see, there are many methods that can be used here, some of which that I have yet to use myself. Yeah, I'll give it a build. There we go. It's green. So now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so it worked. It built. Now I need to take a look and say, all right, well, I need to make this call here. Make the call to IB connect right here. So it makes the connection, put a breakpoint right here. Here it is, breakpoint hit. So all those things are set. Here's my time, the empty string. So that all works. Now I need to go find that historical data callback method. So here it is right here. So here's the historical data, and then here's historical data end. And I'll throw a breakpoint right there. So when I go ahead and run this, one of those should get hit. So the call gets hit right here. So I know that's working, but that's it. My historical data never got called, which means that callback method is not working. Okay, so now let's run it and see what happens. Boom. Nice. So here we go. I now have all of my data. So here's all my historical data, which is being called from that historical data function. Terrific. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for the next episode as we continue forward with the implementation of some of these events and some of these methods. Next, try to get tickPrice going. Get a few more of these, and we'll build our thread to interact with the core. Thank you for watching, and happy coding.